Russia launched over 400 drones in a massive assault on western Ukraine. But 19 drones crossed into Polish airspace. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk confirmed the unprecedented scale. The violations lasted over 6 hours, beginning just before midnight, continuing until 6:30 a.m. Debris was scattered across multiple villages in Poland's Lublin region. One drone struck a residential building. Miraculously, no injuries were reported, but the damage proved this was no technical error. Poland is a NATO member state. Poland is in the European Union. This violation challenged the entire Western security architecture. 19 separate intrusions over 6 hours. Ukrainian President Zelensky called it an extremely dangerous precedent for Europe. He said 8 Russian drones were aimed toward Poland. The scale ruled out any possibility of accident. This was either deliberate or grossly negligent. The incident put European security on high alert, forcing immediate military and diplomatic responses. What began as an attack on Ukraine became a direct challenge to NATO, testing the alliance's resolve, and demanding an unprecedented response. The violation marked a dangerous new phase in the conflict. With implications extending far beyond Poland's borders, the Western response would be swift and historic. For the first time since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, NATO forces opened fire. Polish fighter jets launched to intercept. Dutch aircraft joined the mission. Italian and German forces provided support. NATO's multinational command coordinated the unprecedented operation. The alliance moved from support to direct defensive engagement. Years of joint training enabled seamless integration, demonstrating Article 5 principles in action. Prime Minister Tusk confirmed the results. Up to 4 of the 19 drones were shot down. The successful interception sent a clear message: violations of sovereignty will be met with force. By shooting down Russian drones, NATO crossed a critical threshold, moving from providing aid to direct military engagement. The decision carried immense risks of escalation, but the blatant violation left little choice. This defensive action exemplified NATO's core purpose: protecting member states from aggression. The response reassured allies and citizens that security guarantees are credible and actionable. The interception demonstrated operational readiness and technological superiority. Years of joint exercises proved their worth. In this first test of collective defense, the mission succeeded in neutralizing the immediate threat, while sending an unmistakable deterrent message that NATO's commitment to mutual defense remains absolute. But military action was only the beginning of the response. Russia's response was swift and categorical denial. The Defense Ministry claimed no intention to target Poland, stating the maximum drone range was 700 kilometers, or 435 miles. This explanation met widespread skepticism. The drones had clearly reached Polish territory, with one striking a residential building. Foreign Minister Sikorski rejected accident theories. 19 separate violations over 6 hours. The scale made accident explanations implausible. Poland called it a deliberate challenge to NATO and the EU. The Russian-charged affair was summoned for formal protest. Britain led international condemnation. Prime Minister Starmer called it an egregious violation. He said it showed Putin's blatant disregard for peace. Defense Secretary Healey called it a new level of hostility. President Trump responded via social media: "What's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go." The European Union condemned the violation, calling for a drone wall along the eastern flank. Allied capitals united in condemnation, transforming a bilateral crisis into collective action. Poland's diplomatic response was swift and comprehensive. The unified response isolated Russia diplomatically, while strengthening Western resolve, setting the stage for formal alliance consultation, as Poland prepared to invoke NATO's Article 4, escalating the crisis to the highest levels of the alliance. Poland invoked NATO Article 4 for emergency consultations. Prime Minister Tusk warned of the gravest threat since World War II. The first Article 4 invocation since the Ukraine war began, bringing all 32 allies to the table, transforming a national crisis into a collective one, forcing consensus on the nature of the threat, and coordination of a unified response. Possible responses include increased deployments, heightened air patrols across the eastern flank, additional economic sanctions, and intensified political pressure on Moscow, ensuring Poland does not stand alone. This incident marks a pivotal turning point for European security, shattering illusions that the war could be contained, forcing NATO from support to direct defensive engagement, fundamentally altering the conflict dynamics. The crisis exposed European airspace vulnerabilities to modern drone warfare capabilities, galvanizing calls for stronger integrated defense systems and new technological countermeasures. The path forward requires unwavering unity, strategic foresight, and clear understanding that European peace depends on credible collective defense. The stakes could not be higher. As Europe faces its most serious security challenge in decades, the alliance's response will determine the future of European security and the credibility of collective defense in the modern era. The world watches as NATO confronts this unprecedented challenge to Western security.